It's a pleasure to have you here. The details now. The Takoradi Gender Court, presided over by Abena Achen Doku, has ordered for a psychiatric examination to be conducted on the alleged baby thief in Takoradi, Rose Mausi Fiaku, who allegedly stole a baby at the Takoradi Market Circle a fortnight ago. The pregnancy test, which was conducted on her by the order of the court, was negative. Correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa joins me with details. This may not come as a surprise to those of us who heard from mother of this victim who claimed her daughter was not pregnant when the court ordered for the pregnancy test. But tell us how people have been reacting to the official test that has been given to the court.
Well, then it's just like we are not surprised. People who came to the court today were neither surprised, especially those who are from Kuma, where her supposed boyfriend lives. They, from day one, had a strong belief that this lady was not pregnant, and it was just one of their ways to get away or to get the court to, have some pity on her.
Ina, did she explain in court why she said she was pregnant?
Yes, Bennett. She said for the past 2 months, she had not had her menstruation. And then after she was being arrested for connecting with this boy, a baby he stole, the police manhandled her and she saw some blood flowing. That's why she said she was pregnant. And then it was at that point that the judge on the case asked whether her mother was around. Her mother, whose name we all know as Fiaku, and so she came out and they said, yes, that's her daughter. So the judge asked her whether her daughter was really sound, but she also, in a defense, said her daughter sometimes exhibits some signs of dissonance. So that's when the judge asked that there should be a psychiatric examination done on her.
Interesting. But what about her boyfriend or partner? We understand that his lawyer was trying to get him some bail, trying to disconnect him from the entire activity that occurred some weeks ago. What transpired in court with regards to their attempt to get him bail?
Yes, Dennis, for the boyfriend today, he has been given a bill to the tune of 10,000 Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, and so he would also reappear in court on the 26th of April.
Interesting, Ina, but tell us about how the reactions in the town have been with regards to how the case is progressing now.
I think that for the community and for residents, they are really appreciative of how the court is handling the case. And even when you speak to Baby Mausi's family, I think now they are trying to buy into the idea that the accomplice, Lawson, was misled. So the grandmother of Baby Mausi told me that she really felt pity for Lawson Lassie, that he was misled by Mausi in this way. The community of Kuma is jubilating. If one of the videos I sent, if you see that people are just praising. I mean, you see a couple of people, some with veil and all that, praising Allah and all that, showing a sign of gratitude for how the case is going.
Finally, tell us when this psychiatric examination is to be done and when next we'll hear this case in court.
Then it's 26th, we are supposed to hear what really happened after the psychiatric. They did not give timelines, but it is expected that the results will be given in court on the 26th of April.
Thank you, Inathalia Kwanzaa, there with details of this case that we've been following since it broke. Let's bring you some other stories now. A middle-aged widow is seeking justice for her 11-year-old daughter, allegedly defiled in turns by 2 men at Antoa Ahondro in the Ashanti region. The victim is currently on admission at the Centreso Government Hospital in Kumasi, where she underwent minor surgery due to the assault. Amid the pain of the girl and anger of her relatives, police are said to be brokering a 1,000 Ghana cedi out-of-court settlement deal on the blind side of the Durban Circuit Court. That's the court presiding over the case. Investigators at the Police Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit at Mamponting in the Kwabre district suggest the court has referred the case for alternative dispute resolution. Live FM's Sarasta Sasari Donko reports checks at the court, however, reveal the contrary.
Frail-looking victim of alleged sexual abuse is one of 6 children of helpless Aisha, not her real name, whose husband died and left them in financial difficulty. The girl tells Love News 2 men, 25-year-old Martin Asiedu and a Jakoko who is 45 years, forcibly had sex with her in turns. On my way to school, Martin sent me on an errand. When I returned, he asked me to send the item to his room. Then he followed me and forcibly had sex with me. He threatened to kill me if I tell anybody. He then walked me to Ejakoko's house, and he also had sex with me. Her mother says she observed traces of blood in the girl's urine, which came with vomiting, but she had no money to seek medical treatment. Though the girl later underwent medical examination at Asnomanso Government Hospital to confirm sexual assault, Aisha could not raise funds for proper care. Local NGO Women's Wealth to Health subsequently stepped in. My daughter's teacher called me from school. He said she was vomiting blood. I pleaded with a neighbor to help register her on insurance so I could take her to the hospital. But I was told I could only use the card after a month. Some good Samaritan had to help me to send her to the hospital. The girl finally underwent a minor surgery on Wednesday at Suntresu Government Hospital, where she is on admission. One of the suspects, Martin Asiedu, was arrested, arraigned and granted bail by Jabin Circuit Court, but his accomplice, Ejakoko, is on the run. Ahead of Asiedu's return to court on the 30th of this month, personnel of DOSU at Mamponten tells Love News the court has referred the case for alternate dispute resolution. They will not speak on record, but indicated they are supervising a 1,000 Ghana cedi settlement between the suspects and mother of the victim. My checks at Jabin Circuit Court established the court had given no such order. Aisha confirms police have given her 500 Ghana cedis, supposedly from a relative of one of the suspects. Family of one of the suspects came to beg, asking that we settle the case because their son is sick. He was epileptic. They told me to quantify my medical expenses, so they take care of it. I said I've spent 1,000 Ghana cedis, and they gave me 500 Ghana cedis. But later, to my surprise, they wanted to spread the arrangement to cover the other suspect who is at large. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, the absence of an incubator at the Idra Government Hospital is causing the death of preterm babies delivered there. The situation at the referral facility for many farming communities in the Ashanti region leaves health personnel overwhelmed. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin visited the hospital and filed this report.
It is 5:30 p.m. time to feed the babies at Idra Government Hospital. It is a scene to behold. The number of nursing mothers here, however, is more than what the labor unit can accommodate.
In
fact, you wouldn't even know what to do. Sometimes we don't even eat. We cry along with the mothers because we know that there is something to be done and we are unable to do those things in our facility.
Hospital records show 200 pregnant women visit the facility every month. with an average of 10 babies born a day. Here is the delivery room, looking very impoverished, and a resuscitation area which is not so resourced.
Just like that, so always we have to provide room for the baby. Whether the baby...
So we always make sure we have a suctioning device here. So right now we just finished with the sterilization, so I'm checking for the functionality to make sure as at when the baby comes, everything will be ready.
They always come to the hospital with great expectation, but some of them walk out empty-handed and heartbroken. Senior midwife Jiejom Yawa Semejo has attended to most delivery cases here at Ejura Hospital. A case in point is one woman who lost twins because there was no incubator.
After delivering these babies, they were very weak and they were weighing 0.8 and 1.2, which needed us to refer them to Confanoche for further management. But unfortunately, we didn't have an ambulance. So we had to call an ambulance, which took us about 2 hours before we had access to the ambulance. When the ambulance came, it had only one oxygen concentrator, so we had to put it on the severely ill baby. Before we could get to Confanoche, the second baby, the first baby had passed on. That's the severely ill baby had passed on. So we were managing with the second one. We got to Confanoche, the baby too wasn't doing well. Upon resuscitation for about 20 to 30 minutes, the baby couldn't respond. So we lost both babies before we could do anything for them.
Fatima Musa is an expectant mother. She's unsure of her situation now and wants something to be done immediately so she does not fall victim. Many other women have lost their babies due to the absence of an incubator at the hospital. Dr. Mensa Manye Ewukujifa is the medical superintendent.
Where we are in court is quite remote. So when you talk of referral, the transportation, because ambulance doesn't come and take them free. Even where is the ambulance? I think the whole Ashanti region, they have only 2 ambulances running, and this place under Ashanti region. If I'm not mistaken, I think we have only one at any point in time. So, the other one is called somewhere. So, in fact, it's a big problem. You might have the zeal to refer that but the baby might be leaving about 3 days later. But the solution is if you have that incubator, yes, we save the mothers, we save the baby, we save the mother for the torture or for the pain, for the stress of looking for money. Where would they get the money?
The Ejura Government Hospital needs urgent and swift intervention to save the lives of babies and their mothers from the prevailing devastating situation. Mohammed Nuruddin's reports for Joy News.
Now, Joy News can report that the reduction in the benchmark values announced by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has taken effect at the ports. Adom Online editor Joshua Tigo spoke to some clearing agents who confirmed they are experiencing the reduction 2 days after the Vice President said it was a cabinet decision. The agents are, however, calling for a portal that will give them original values of their vehicles they import.
We want to compliment the government for the good job done. We have seen the impact on the reduction. It is real. We have seen it yesterday. We put in a declaration. It came out. When we sat down and we did the calculation, you could see that actually 27.5% of the duty has been reduced, not 30%. The 30% is reduced on the value. But when you come to the duty payable, 27.5% has been reduced. It is working. But our issue we have now is the custom people will have to publish. They have to have a portal to publish all the values that they use to do the valuation. Because since we are not privy to the values, it will be very difficult for you to see the impact. Because, for instance, when we have American cars, we have the data that we can access and know the actual values that customs is giving us. But when you talk about the European countries, the Asian countries, and any other country, we are not privy to the data. So we don't know the actual values that they are giving us, for them to reduce it for us to know. So what we are appealing to the custom people is to publish the values. There's a data they have in their system. They have to make it a public document for everybody to be able to access it, so that you know that the actual value is this, and it has been reduced by this 30%.
Meanwhile, former Chief of Staff in the Kufuor administration, Kojo Mpieni, has lauded the Akufo-Addo administration for reducing the benchmark of import duties by 50% for general goods and 30% for vehicles. According to him, though taxes are currently high, Ghanaians should exercise patience and hope for the best. He spoke to Joy News' Joshua Smith at Prempeh College's Endowment Fund launch in Accra.
If the government had come up to reduce taxes, I believe they might have realized that the taxes were high, the taxes wasn't helping the economy, and maybe the best thing to do is to bring it down. For example, if you take the ports, you know, we have these landlocked countries coming to Tema, doing a lot of business with us in Tema. If operating from Tema is high, I believe they will just move away and go to a port like Lumi or something like that. So if government realizes that maybe we're losing, I don't know, I'm just asking that, maybe we are losing 2 Lumi on this one, it's right for the government to look at it and say, hey, maybe let him go down to be able to keep what I have and maybe attract more to it. So they may know the reason why they...
On Thursday, the opposition National Democratic Congress responded to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's town hall meeting on the state of the economy. The NDC, among others, said the cedi lost significantly after the Vice President's lecture, and they quoted Bloomberg. So Joy News' resident fact-checker Raymond Akwa has been doing some digging. Here are the facts he shared with Israel Aye on Joy News Prime.
He also referenced Bloomberg, so it's only fair that we go to the same site and find out what the Bloomberg rate was. If you check currently on the Bloomberg rate, this is what we have today. Now, beneath this is the actual previous closing day figure, and this is the figure. So you look at it, they tell you the previous closing day. End of day yesterday was 5.3075. This is the figure, nowhere near the 5.6 that the MP made reference to. I mean, of course, it's possible that in the course of the day, but if you checked yesterday's also, the range, day range, as is given today, was also between this particular end. It wasn't to the point of 5.5, 5.6, so that I can say that it falls within that particular range in the same way. I hope you understand.
So it is rather on the weak range that we see, it going up to 5.86.
5.86, and it is actually, this is the specific figure he was referring to, was the case for yesterday anyway.
All right. So that's with what the MP for Bogatanga Central had to say. Now, we also want to factor some things that the Vice President has been saying on at the town hall meeting on Wednesday.
Yes, the Vice President talked about the growth rate for 2017 being higher than that of the sub-region and also being one of the highest in the world. Indeed, except for the specific growth rate was 8.1, except for countries like Ethiopia and a few countries in the world. This was one of the highest ranking, what they call growth rates in the world at the time. Indeed, the IMF even predicted that Ghana was going to be one of the highest ranking. It wasn't the highest, but it was one of the highest ranking. But he said it would be one of the highest in the world. Indeed, he said for the sub-region. The sub-region was extremely low. It was between 2.7 and 2.9. And the highest projection you could get for the sub-region was 3.4. So our growth rate in 2017 was indeed very high, way higher than the sub-region. So the Vice President was completely right on all the three elements he said the growth rate fielded in that particular case.
All right, so he also had something to say about the debt figures.
Yes, first and foremost, he talked about that of the year 2014 being 70.2. Okay, so what he decided to do is to basically take the pre-rebasing figure, but you know that rebasing reference here was 2013, so it affects 2014, and use it for that particular period. If you use the pre-rebasing figure, he will be right. But the rebase figure puts it at 51%. Just that when he's quoting the debt figures for 2018, end year 2018, he uses the rebase figures.
All right.
Of course, it makes it look way lower, but in a similar way, when he was quoting for even end year 2016, he used the old series and decided to use that for the comparison. I mean, of course, perhaps because of the politics of it, you have to decide which one you want to use. But so far as we've done rebasing, the new figures are all you use. It's for a reason. It's because you don't want to be confused with pre-rebasing figures interfering the new ones. Because
especially when you're comparing.
When you're comparing within a period, at least you would have to compare like to like and not ones that are being pre-rebased in this case. And of course, he also made mention about the actual debt that this government actually inherited in 2017. He said it was 122 billion. This is also false for a simple reason. You know, the figure was in our first budget. Then in the same year, the Controller Accountant General's Department came out to say that no, the figure should be 120.3 billion, not 122 billion. Indeed, and our laws indicate that the man to tell us our true state of our finances and our accounts is the Controller Accountant General. When the Auditor General had to audit it, the Auditor General also ended the same verdict of 120.3 billion and not 122 billion in this particular case.
All right, so probably the 222 figure should have been revised in the notes.
Yes, of course, in the throes of preparing this particular one.
Away from fact-checking, over the years, many lives and property have been lost to floods in Ghana, a situation attributed to the lack of preparedness for disaster. Experts are calling for an action plan going forward. One of them is a senior research fellow, Benjamin Delali-Dove, who says a proactive approach should replace the reactive responses recorded so far. Now, he has called on authorities to adopt what is referred to as the Sendai framework, an entry point for disaster management. There's more in this report by Patricia Hammond.
Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction is a non-binding agreement by the UN which recognizes the state's primary role to reduce disaster risks. It stipulates, however, that responsibility should be shared with other sectors. Government's adoption of the Sendai framework will bring along the guidelines to enable Ghana respond better to disasters. Senior research fellow Benjamin Delali-Dove explains this further.
People get confused when there are floods. Talk about the institutions themselves, talk about the people, the duty bearers who are supposed to lead people. They tend to get confused. That is why we are saying that forward planning is very, very important and we don't have to be reactive. If it happens, what are we going to do? That is the most important thing. So we need to have a plan whereby we'll say that should Circle get flooded one more time, these are the measures that we are going to put in place. And these particular measures will draw the attention of this number of assemblies, this number of departments, institutions. It could be health, it could be the transport people, it could be the NADMO people, to do specific activities, specific things when floods occur. This is what we need. We don't have to have everybody just moving in there. So your action plan defines your priorities. And not only defining your priorities, attaching responsibilities to those particular priorities. So we know who should be held responsible if certain things go wrong.
The mayor of Accra, Mohamed Ejeiso, added that major storm drains in Accra are being fixed with support from the Works and Housing Ministry to prevent the cyclical flooding which has plagued the country over the years. He adds, government has put in place sustainable measures to address not only disasters but general sanitation issues in the country.
Well, I can assure you that we've put in mitigating measures that these things may not occur, but I don't know the amount of rain that will come. What I can assure you of is that we are putting in the mitigating measures. We'll be commissioning a solid waste plant in Accra Central that will treat over 400 tons of waste to recycle it into composts and PET bottles for industry and the rest. There's always a connection of waste to flooding also in Accra. So once you are also you are constructing the storm drains, you are also dealing with the issue about waste. So the president called to make Accra clean. It is not just picking the waste. It is also intended to ensure that we have enough infrastructure, equipment, and the capacity to be able to deal with the matter in a very sustainable way.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is currently launching and commissioning a compost and recycling plant. We'll bring you all the updates, and it's closely related to the story you just heard. But Glitz Africa continues its annual mission to celebrate women who use their expertise, position and influence to inspire others to make a difference in driving other women forward through the Ghana Women of the Year honors. Glitz Africa is this year presenting the Ghana Women of the Year honors 2019, and CEO of the company, Claudia Lumos, spoke to me earlier on the highlights of this year's event.
We are telling stories of women who are changing the game changers, driving their agenda, and very passionate about what they do. And they've done it with no matter all the challenges that they've been through, they've done it with so much class and so much dignity. And we want to tell that story, especially to to other women, especially to other young women, that this is possible. Everything you set yourself to do, it's possible for you to stay true to yourself and work really hard, and it will happen. We have our own operas in Ghana, and that's the story I'm very passionate, and my team, and we want to drive that to the rest of the country. I mean, what we've added this year is to have a female CEO's breakfast meeting, which we've never had before. And I believe that, on the evening, why I even brought up the awards, because I feel like at the awards night is more networking and there's more celebration, and people may not have the time to maybe have exchange business cards as women and pour energy. There's no time probably for that. And I feel like, why don't we bring some of the business women together and let them network, have a breakfast meeting, talk about themselves, exchange business cards, talk about issues that are happening as women in our corporation, our work life, our family life, and how to make it better.
To get into the social media pages of Glitz Africa for more details on that particular event. Meanwhile, Environment Minister Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng says his ministry is working on a plastic management plan for the consideration of Parliament on how to deal with Ghana's plastic menace. Speaking at the inauguration of the Integrated Recycling and Compost Plant Limited here in Accra, Professor Frimpong Boateng acknowledged the challenges in dealing with the plastic situation, but he is optimistic that the construction of the recycling and compost plant will be a game changer. My colleague Maxwell Agbaba is at that event, and he joins us live with more details. Hello, Maxwell. Hello, Maxwell, if you can hear me, who else has been speaking at this particular event, and what are the expectations after the commissioning of this plant?
Well, we just had the Minister for Business Development, Honorable Awad Mohammed, speaking on behalf of the Vice President who was expected to be here, and he has been talking largely about the benefits of the integrated recycling and compost plant. He talked about the socio-economic benefits and job creation. He also touched on the environment and health benefits of this integrated recycling and compost plant. We also talked about how it can also produce raw materials to actually feed the industries that, some of the industries that we have in the Greater Accra region and in some other parts of Ghana. A lot of the people who are here, we also had a Deputy Trade Minister who talked about how this is not only going to help to clean Ghana and also help President to attain his dream of making Accra the cleanest in Africa, but also it will provide jobs for the people. We're told that thousands of people will be employed here to be engaged in the sorting and the segregation process. So for those who also will be engaged in the collection process, all of them will be provided with jobs. And that's one thing that a lot of people here are excited about. It was interesting to note that in the course of the program, we actually had a course of men, I'll best describe as NPP, sympathizers who were dressed in President Akufo-Addo t-shirts. They briefly interrupted the program, and they had to give them space to actually sing the praises of the president for making available this recycling plant here, which has been spearheaded also by Zoomla and Company Limited. If you speak to the people here, it's more of excitement, it's more about job creation, and it's more about a dream to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
Thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba, joining us from that ceremony. We'll be bringing you more on this in subsequent bulletins. What does this really mean for our quest to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa? You're watching Joy News today with me, Benis Abubedulan.